Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, By in the Habit of Always Walking Behind and quote. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don and oppose. Like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. By has a habit that makes everyone smile. He always walks behind me. Not beside me. Not ahead of me like a brave explorer. Always behind. Just close enough that I can hear the soft tap-tap of his paws against the floor, just far enough that if I stop suddenly, he almost bumps into my legs with a surprised little huff. It started quietly, the way most beautiful habits do. In the mornings, when I walk from my bedroom to the kitchen, I can feel it before I see it, that gentle presence. I pour water into the kettle, and when I turn around, there he is. A fluffy brown and white shape sitting neatly 2 steps behind me, tail sweeping the floor like a lazy feather duster. If I walk to the balcony, he follows. If I go to the bathroom, he waits outside. If I move from the sofa to the desk, he rises without complaint and pads along, keeping his respectful distance, as though he understands the invisible line between my world and his. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then I thought maybe he was bored. But after weeks, I realized it was neither. It was his way of being with me. By doesn't demand attention. He doesn't bark for treats every hour or jump wildly to be carried. Instead, he offers something quieter. He offers consistency, a warm, steady presence that says, I'm here. I don't need to lead. I just want to follow. Sometimes I test him playfully. I'll walk in slow circles around the living room. He follows, slightly confused but committed. I'll suddenly change direction. He pivots clumsily, nails clicking against the tile, eyes bright with concentration. It becomes our little dance. And every time, he chooses the same position, behind me. One afternoon, my friend visited and noticed it too. Why does he always stay behind you? She asked, watching by trail after me as I went to grab snacks. I shrugged and smiled. Maybe he thinks I'm the leader of the pack. But secretly, I felt it was more than that. When we go outside for a walk, it's even clearer. Other dogs pull their owners forward, eager to sniff every tree first, to claim the path. By stays 1 step behind my heel. His leash remains slightly loose. His ears move like small antennas, catching sounds. His eyes stay on me. If I stop, he stops. If I step aside, he adjusts. He isn't afraid. He isn't shy. He simply chooses to trust my direction. And every time I feel that tiny weight of trust behind me, something inside my chest softens. Because in a noisy world where everyone is racing ahead, my little dog is quietly reminding me that love does not always run in front. Sometimes, love walks behind you, making sure you are never alone. There was one evening I truly understood Bai's habit. It had been a long day. Work felt heavy. My thoughts were crowded. I walked around the house without purpose, tidying up, putting things down, picking them up again. The sky outside was gray, and so was my mood. Bai followed, room to room, step by step. No barking, no nudging, no demanding, just there. At one point, I leaned against the kitchen counter and sighed. I didn't realize how tired I looked until I felt something gently brush against the back of my ankle. Bai. He had stepped closer than usual. When I turned around, he wasn't sitting this time. He was standing, looking up at me with wide, patient eyes. His tail moved slowly, not excited, just steady. It felt like he was saying, I'm still here, even when you're not smiling. I crouched down and wrapped my arms around him. His fur smelled faintly of sunshine and the shampoo from last week's bath. He licked my chin once, very politely, as if sealing a quiet agreement between us. That night, I paid more attention. I noticed that whenever I felt restless, I stayed a little closer. Whenever I moved quickly, he moved carefully. Whenever I stopped for too long, he shifted his weight, waiting patiently for me to decide what to do next. He wasn't just following my body. He was following my emotions. Dogs have an incredible ability to read the rhythm of our hearts. They don't need words. They don't need explanations. They feel the small changes in our breathing, the tension in our shoulders, the silence in our voices. Bai's habit of staying behind me was not about submission. It was about support. By staying behind, he could watch me fully. He could observe every small signal. He positioned himself in a way that allowed him to respond to me, not control me. There is something deeply beautiful about that. In a world where many people compete to stand in front, to lead, to shine, Bai chooses to stand behind. And yet his presence is just as powerful. Sometimes, when we sit on the sofa, I lean back and he settles slightly behind my hip, his body pressed gently against mine. Not in the spotlight, not in the center, just quietly sharing warmth. I began to wonder if humans could learn from that. How often do we rush to speak first? To be noticed? To prove something? And how often do we simply stay behind someone? Not to hide, but to support. I taught me that staying behind doesn't mean being less important. Sometimes, it means being strong enough to protect, to observe, to care without needing applause. Animals have a way of loving without ego, and that kind of love changes you. Bai still walks behind me, every single day, but now, when I hear his small footsteps, I don't see just a dog following his owner. I see trust in motion. I see loyalty shaped like fur and heartbeat. In today's fast-moving world, we are constantly pushed to move ahead, to achieve more, earn more, show more. Social media tells us to be visible. Work tells us to compete. Society tells us to stand out. But Bai reminds me of something gentler. He reminds me that real connection is not about racing forward. It is about walking together, even if one person is slightly ahead. Sometimes in life, you will be the one leading. Other times, you will walk behind someone who needs guidance. Both roles are meaningful. Both roles are valuable. From Bai, I have learned several lessons that I try to apply to my daily life. First, presence matters more than noise. You do not need to speak loudly to show love. Sometimes simply being there, consistently, is enough. Second, support can be quiet. Standing behind someone, encouraging them silently, can be more powerful than standing in front demanding attention. Third, trust builds harmony. Bai trusts my direction, and in return, I take responsibility for guiding him safely. In relationships between humans and animals, and between humans and humans, mutual trust creates peace. Fourth, observe before reacting. Bai watches carefully before moving. In modern life, where we often respond too quickly, learning to pause and observe can prevent misunderstanding and conflict. Finally, kindness toward animals reflects our humanity. When we care for them, protect them, and respect their emotions, we strengthen our own capacity for empathy. Animals are not decorations or accessories. They are living beings with feelings, intelligence, and loyalty. When we treat them gently, we create a kinder world, not only for them, but for each other. Bai's small habit has become a daily reminder that love is not always dramatic. It does not always bark loudly or run ahead proudly. Sometimes, love is a quiet pair of paws behind you. Sometimes, it is a warm shadow that chooses to stay. And in a time when many people feel alone despite being surrounded by noise, perhaps what we need most is to become someone's gentle presence, someone who walks beside or behind with patience and sincerity. Because at the end of the day, life is not about who reaches the finish line first. It is about who walks with you along the way. And thanks to Bai, I know that even when I move forward, I am never truly alone.